Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Rise Every Nation. It's your host, Terrell Simmons, in the building. And I got a special guest in the building. If you don't know this brother, you need to get to know this brother. Cheddy Matthews, what is going on, good sir?
I am doing well, brother. It is so good to be on your platform. I'm so honored to be with you, Terrell. You are like a living legend.
All right, we got to tell them the backstory how we met Cheddy, because our brother... he got us together for what was the summit? Oh man, I can't think of the name of the summit. Why would I'm blanking? What was it called?
The Men's March.
Brett came on. Men's
Faces
March.
of Masculinity.
Yes, and then my brother. Let me tell you. You know when you just know that's your Kendrick brother. Cheddy started spitting out some things that was just feeding my soul and fire, and then it's like he wasn't quarterbacking it, but he got the pass, and then he threw me a lateral, and I caught the ball, and I went with it, and I tossed it back to him, and we had a touchdown. That's the best analogy I could give. But I knew we was in sync the first time we met, and I was like, we got to do this again.
Yeah,
I remember everything you were saying that I was just resonating with. So,
yep,
man,
I think I used the words.
I'm
I think
happy
I said,
to have you on.
Whew. I'm just grateful to be here. I think I was saying that the things you were saying are like audible gold. If you're listening to this, you are actually hearing audible gold. If you can't even imagine what that is, I mean, it was just gem after gem after nugget after nugget. It was a treasure trove, a verbal treasure trove, brother. It was, I was like, you're sitting there on this panel and everyone thinks that you're the person that knows. And I'm like, this dude is awesome. Like, did he just say that? I mean, in my mind, I was just like, this is insane. So I was super honored. And it was just the stuff you were dropping. I was like, in my mind, I'm just like, did people really know did they hear what he just said? And I would go back and be like, did you hear what he just said? And I'd go back and repeat it because it was like, that right there could be the whole summit. The end. We can go home now. Like, we're done.
Yeah. So, I don't think I had a chance to really talk about the summit with my audience. So, like, if you had to sum up the audience, sum up the summit and just a breakdown description, how would you describe your experience at that summit?
I would say it was
and
really it was the different sides of manhood and universal things that we get challenged with, and just the ability to learn new tools of how to navigate. We had 5 people on this panel, which to me was a pantheon of rock stars. It was just these amazing brothers on this panel. And it was just talking about different life events from different perspectives. And what you realized was there are many roads to paradise. There are many ways to get to the goal. There are many ways to do it. And what you heard was different people with different backgrounds, different pedigrees, coming from different parts of the country, all coming together to just explain how they navigated a certain situation. If that wasn't a cup full of power, I don't know what is. That was beautiful. And what happened is you realize men can be very egotistical and very competitive and very alpha. Whole bunch of alphas on the panel, and everybody was just complimentary, supplementary, adding to and appreciating people's insight. And no one was trying to one up anybody. So for me, it just had this spirit of unity and togetherness, and we grow together and things that were happening. It was more for me. It felt like it was more for me than it was for the audience. I mean, I was gaining and growing so much just from listening. I was like, wow, I've got to really reassess that. That's a different perspective. And you realize our lives, we are the sum total of our beliefs and our lives and our experiences. And you can see that come out. But despite all that, where you came from doesn't necessarily have to dictate where you go. You get to choose that, because I saw 5 people whose lives were so diverse, yet they all achieved success in some way, shape, or form, and are here sharing to help other people do the same. It was amazing. It was multi-generational, which was, I think, beautiful, because the things we were saying were universal. I could go on for days about this, but I'm going to be quiet because it was just that good. And I hope we do it again.
Share gems. and the thing that I have to say that I appreciate about you, Cheddy, is like in your journey of hearing your story, there was layers that resonated with me. The one that I found very fascinating is one that I don't get to share with too many. Well, I haven't shared yet with too many people, just because I haven't heard everybody's journey. But the one that was fascinating to me is like how you saw the world, navigate the world from different cultural perspectives. Because like I grew up in Nigerian culture in my household. But when I left the house, depending on how the world saw me, whether they saw me as the Black American or they saw me as a Nigerian or this kid from the hood, there was layers into how I was treated or received, and then because after I start to learn that, I just had this level of curiosity and show up like I belong places, and people were like, wait, is that the Nigerian kid? Or is that the what is he? Who is he? Like,
Yes. I totally understand that
they were
perspective.
confused.
Yeah. And people want to put you in their box.
You had that. Exactly. And you had that similar experience. Tell the people about like your experience in growing up in life, because you're multicultural as well.
Yes.
And I think people often want to like try to box you in, but you show up as yourself everywhere and you just act like you belong and fit in. How did that, the different cultures? Well, first, what are the different cultures that are inside of you, and how did that you navigating that help you become the person you are today?
So I call myself Jaminglish, which is a combination of Jamaican and English. I was born in England, born in London, from parents who are Jamaican. So that's the Jaminglish part. I then moved to New York. So if you hear me talk, you'll get real confused off the bat. You'll be like, wait, what? So I would tell people that I was raised in England, but I grew up in New York. So I have the manners and the politeness and certain things that are very British. And I have a whole bunch of me in my teenage and formative years that are very New York. And on top of all of that, both of those are layered with a heavy dose of Jamaican. So food, culture, language, music, history. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a Jamaican that was born in England that moved to New York. That's me. So I didn't call myself a Jamaican. I call myself a Jaminglish because I was born in England. And that's my life. But let me tell you, being all of those things means that I am all of those things, yet I am none of those things. That's an identity crisis because I'll tell you, when I go to those places, I go to Jamaica, me a foreigner. They look upon me like, who's this boy? Where you from? From Jamaica. We live right there. Where you from here? I'm from foreign. So I'm a foreigner, right? Me a foreigner. If I go to England, you're a Yankee, mate. You're a Yank. Dude, I live in the South. I can't be a Yank. You're a Yank. Okay, I like my Yankees, but you can't call all Americans Yankees, and I'm not American. And they're like, yeah, but you're American, mate. You're not English anymore. And I'm like, what? And I come to England, and you're like, you're a Brit. I'm like, but I'm an American citizen. Yeah, but you're a Brit. And I'm like, wait, what? And then beyond that, when I went to college, I was in North Carolina. So you got this London, New York, Jamaican in North Carolina, and some of my friends would be like, well, you're not black, you're English. Wait, hold on 1 second, because I think you just said something. Say what you just said one more time. Yeah, you're not black, you're English. Wait, what? I can't be both? Because apparently you can't be black and English. Apparently. So it was just funny how in so many areas of my life I didn't fit. And so I realized at some point, whoa, stop trying to fit. So you want to get a mold for me? Good luck. Get some plastic wrap. It's not going to be the same. Yeah, I think I fell out the mold too early. So I'm just me.
You could like go into acting and play like 7 different characters. I just saw 7 different characters flash before.
That is my life. That is my daily life. And I'll tell you, I was a Marine for a while, and I would go overseas, and I would be English, I'd be Jamaican, I'd be French, I'd be Moroccan, I'd be all kinds of things. I'd be whatever you needed me to be. Whatever you didn't dislike, that's who I was. And I'll tell you this, in most countries, you say you're Jamaican, people are like, oh, Jamaican, Bob Marley. I know some Jamaican words, always curse words. And you're like, you know what? At least you're not hating on me. Because if I say I'm from Britain, they'll be like, oh, you guys, you colonized, you did this. If I say that I'm from America, like, oh, you guys did this. So sometimes you have to be careful with what country you use. But when you say you're Jamaican, people are like, cool, Bob Marley. And it's like, okay, we're a lot more than just Bob Marley, but okay, I'll take it. And people just let you go. It's interesting. People are just like, that's cool. I'm like, oh, I'm Jamaican today. Because I have no enemies today. So this is good. So I've been called the International Man of Mystery. If I need to, hey. If I need to. So I enjoy those cultures. I enjoy the richness of that. I do. I love it.
Yeah, me too. I love learning about new cultures as well. Like I think every time I learn about a new culture, I immediately get curious about it, and I often end up taking something away from that culture that I implement in my life. Those good things that I love about the different cultures that I come in contact with. And you, if you take the time to get curious, I often say you'll find some similarities in other cultures of something that feels like home there, right? That you can, and a piece that you can use to connect with people. I think.
It's
I don't
funny
know
you
if you've
say
ever
that.
found that.
That is, I live by that because I look for the similarities now because they exist. We focus so much on our differences that you realize that once you get down and talk to people on a human level, we're humans and we have a lot in common. We may do it a different way. We may season our food differently. You may boil it while I fry it, while you bake it and you roast it. But we do a lot of things very similar. And you're like, wow, I would have never expected that. And you know when it hit me the most? When I went to Russia. And it's interesting we're talking about Russia right now because times are interesting. But I went to Russia and in my mind, I was like, as long as I've been in America, it was like the biggest enemy of America was Russia. I was like, oh, okay. So I go there thinking to myself, these people are going to be so just anti-us and just hateful. I expect, so I'm prepped. I'm ready for this fight. Just like when I went to Mississippi for the first time, I went there ready for the fight because I was from New York and I've heard how it was. And I get there and the people are so nice. I was like, wait. Oh, I'd never heard about the Southern hospitality. I just watched those other movies and I was like, I'm not cool with that and I'm not the one. And that never happened. So it wasn't my experience because I think we got to a human level where that was out the window. But in Russia, once you started talking to these guys, you're looking at them funny, they're looking at you funny. But we started talking. Guys had families like I did. They cared about their families like I did. They just wanted to make sure they could take care of their babies and, look after their... And I was like, wow, his goals sound just like mine. And then you start to realize, even with this country that in my mind I thought was like our enemy, our arch enemy, this guy's doing the exact same thing I'm doing, just in a different country, in a different uniform. And I was like, wow, that was very eye-opening for me because that to me was like we're the polar opposites from what I have received in this country since I've been here, what I have perceived, not received, perceived. Yeah. And you get there and you realize once you get rid of all those layers, the same. I've been to the Middle East and I'll tell you, I align with those folks a lot because I realize we are very similar. Our goals are very similar. And I understand the mindset. Because I've spoken to people on a very human level. And it's like, wow, we're very similar in the way we want to take care of our families. And, you do it in your way, I do it in my way. But you care at those levels. And you realize, you focus on that and you realize, you know what? We are part of this human family and we have a lot in common. So absolutely love it. Love it. There's strength in diversity too. I know I'm speaking to the wrong person when I say this, but there is definitely strength in diversity. Believe it.
Yes, there is. For those who just listened for the first time, for those who don't know, my background is in equity, diversity, and inclusion. So I definitely know there's strength in diversity.
Yes, I believe it.
So speaking of career background, I don't think I ever had the conversation with you about your career background. Well, I know you got the podcast, and we'll jump into that. But like, what industry would you say you're in? Like, and what?
So we've never had the conversation.
Yeah, we never had the conversation. We like, and I was like, I don't think I even know what Cheddy does for a living.
All right. This is not Martin. This is not Martin. I have a job. Okay.
You sure you're not cold?
I'm trying to say it. I'm not, even though I leave every day. Hey.
So what industry are you in? Like, that
just to throw you
now
off.
That we are conversating and we're gonna jump into the illustrious career I'm sure you've had. What industry are you in, and how would you just define your career?
So it is pivoted. I was a U.S. Marine for 20 years. I was a communication and information technologies kind of guy. So I was the AT&T. I'm the guy setting up satellites, radio, telephones, communication systems, cell phones, whatever it was. If you needed to talk from A to B, I was the guy. So whatever that means was, whether it was via motorcycle, whether it was some guy running with a piece of paper saying, hey, this is the message, or whether it was talking to one satellite from one country to another, that was me. That was what I did. So I did that, retired, and left that life alone. As much as I love tech and I love being in that geek space, I was like, there's nowhere on the planet I can do what I did for 20 years in the civilian world. I did some really cool things. And I knew that I would never be able to do those cool things again. So I was like, tech would not be as fun as it's been for the past 2 decades. So I'm done. So I moved on. And now I'm a coach. So I help businesses that are kind of stuck and struggling, help them kind of get beyond that point and excel and just keep skyrocketing. So that's one of the things I do. And deeper than that, I'm actually focused on people that have gone through a significant negative event and it has derailed their trajectory. It's thrown them off course. It has taken them off of that glide path to success. And now they're kind of trailing. How do we get you back to soaring again? Because we go through negative events and we get stuck in that trauma cycle. We just get stuck in that space where we just can't grow. We're just hurting and we're just mad at ourselves. Shame, guilt, frustration, fear, loss of confidence. You've lost your swag. Your mojo's gone. But guess what? You're the guy that's in charge. You're the COO. You're the CFO. And now you don't know who to talk to. You're the alpha parent. You're that person in your family who everyone goes to when there's an issue, but you have no one to talk to. You're the founder of this company, yet it's dying on the vine because you don't know how to push, because you just have lost your confidence and you're afraid to step out again and try again. And how do we get you back on track so you can soar beyond where you were before? That's what I focus on. So those are the people that I focus on. That's why I do my podcast, because my whole goal, my whole reason for being on this earth, when you whittle it down, when you shave off all the frills, is to leave this earth better than I found it. And I do that through speaking, public speaking. As that's how we met. I do it through coaching. I do it through podcasting. And I do it through just trying to make people's lives better where I can. Because I understand that one of my skills is to see the superpowers that other people have. Like a dog can sniff out certain things, I can sniff out people's awesome. I'm like, that person, do you know how awesome you are in that area? And just help people to see what I see, because it doesn't really matter what I see. It's what you see and what you know and how you can use that. And try to help people to monetize their superpower, their awesomeness, because everybody has it. And it goes back to that. It goes back to diversity, if you ask me. I could never be you, Terrell. I mean, Terrell, I could try and follow you. I could watch your videos. I could listen to every podcast, everything you've ever done. And I'd be a cheap, lousy, super just rubbish copy of you. So why don't I just be my authentic self, my best self?
I can't see you being cheap and lousy in anything, but
brother,
you won't be the version of me.
That's my point. But in life, we really do try to be other people, and so we don't walk in our superpower. We don't walk in our space of genius. We don't walk in our flow. We don't walk in our natural state of just ease, because we're trying to be someone else. So therefore, we're walking around kind of choppy. And I'll use the example. It's like Voltron. If you ever know the cartoon Voltron, it's the best cartoon on the planet. That and Transformers and G.I. Joe. The end. And Looney Tunes, but that's neither here nor there. But when I came to America and saw Voltron, I was like, this cartoon is crazy. It was 5 lions, and then bad things would happen. Those 5 different lions with different powers and skills would come together and form this huge robot. And it would just defend the whole universe, and like life was good. They would always win. Well, when I'm in my superpower space, and you're in your superpower space, and someone else is in their superpower space, how can you can't get much better than that when everyone's operating in their space. You can just form this unit where everyone's operating in their greatness. You will just start to see synergy and growth and genius happen, and luck all of a sudden seems to just happen for some strange reason. Things just start going your way because you are all operating in your natural best spaces, being your highest and best selves, using your energy in the best and most efficient way to get the best results. But we're so caught up in trying to be other people that we a lot of times miss that. So I try to get people back to their authenticity. And I love it. I love people. I think people are amazing. I get intrigued by people because there's so much that I can't do. And when you meet people who are like, I do this, I'm like, how do you do that? Like, I'm blown away by things that I can't do, because if I can't do it and someone else can, it's pretty awesome. That's just how I see it. So you have a skill that I don't have. I want to learn more about that. So I hone in on people's strengths and the magic and their superpowers and really help them to live in those spaces. I do it with my own children. I believe in their superpowers. I do. And I want them to believe in their superpowers. I want them to find other ones. And I want them to enjoy doing whatever it is they want to do. Whatever it is they want to do.
I believe that wholeheartedly. And Brett, if you're listening, Cheddy just said we formed Voltron, so we can't let Voltron die by the wayside. We got to form Voltron again.
Again, yes. Bring the band back. We need to bring the band. Like what is it? The Blues Brothers. We bring the band back.
I know. And here's a crazy thing about everything that you just said. I was having a conversation with somebody who I was coaching informally. I wasn't their official coach, but they had a lot of questions in reference to this, and they had somehow was convinced by, I don't know if it was a parent or somebody in their life that said that they need to focus on strengthening their weaknesses. And I was like, no, I think that's the wrong way for you to go. I think you need to double down on your strengths. And when you double down on those strengths, that would negate the weaknesses. So I was like, look at these 3 strengths of yours. Double down on those. Get so good at them that people are going to seek you out. Companies are going to seek you out to do those 3 things that you do, and then they'll form a team around you to handle the strengths that you're not great at. Like, I'm not saying don't try to get better at those, but don't put all your energy into the weaknesses. Double down on your strengths, and then form things around you that allow you to mitigate those weaknesses, or supplement with whatever needs around you to take care of those weaknesses.
Okay, so to your audience, I'm going to say, when I talked about audible gold, that was audible gold. Put that in your emotional and psychological and mental bank and your memory banks, and you will have some serious assets, verbal and intellectual assets that you can make money off of what he just said. Because we like to focus on our weaknesses, but even if you do and you become really good at improving your weaknesses, it's still your weaknesses. How much, and then you might just be average at best, mediocre at worst. So how about you focus on your strengths and become excellent, outstanding, and have superior abilities in certain areas, so that people are like, when it comes to this one thing, you need to go to Terrell. That's just it. Don't go to anybody else. Go to Terrell. Because just like you said, you basically said you have a team that's formed around you to do the things you don't want to do or can't do or aren't very good at or have no concern in doing because that's not your strength zone. But it could be somebody else's strength zone. Again, we're forming Voltron, putting people in their space of power. But beyond that, it's one of those things where I tell people, do what you love and outsource the rest. Do what you're good at. Do what comes easy to you. There are things that you do because it's in your strengths and you're like, well, I just did this. I just created this thing. I just created this business. I just thought about it last night. And people are like, how did you do that? Well, just do what you do. Some people have visions and ideas and they come up with the ideas. If that's what you do, do that. Let somebody else figure out how to put it together. You figure out the what, let someone else figure out the how. And it's just, people have so many skills. If you put people in the right places, things work well. And as a leader, sometimes you have to really assess and be mindful that, am I using people in the best place to get the highest and best use out of them and to get the best out of them for themselves? Are they happy in their role? Are they naturally fit in this role or not? Because I think a lot of times we try to put a square peg in a round hole. And if you've ever seen someone try to do that, it's a lot of bashing and beating and smacking and things just aren't working. So, but you find the right hole, you find that triangle peg and your triangle hole slides right in. Boom. And I think in life we have to do that sometimes. Find your lane. Find your lane. I think now is the time when people are doing that because of this great consciousness that people have.
Yeah, and I think the great resignation is going to cause that for a lot of people. Here's where people I think get stuck, Cheddy, and then maybe you can help those who are listening out with this. I think there's like Cheddy, Terrell, we want to do that, but I don't know what steps I need to take to get me over the hump of this problem or find my level of genius. So what would you say to somebody like that who's having that trouble? Like, I don't know the next steps. What steps would you give them?
There's different ways. Depending on where you are, there are some free assessments out there. Know who you are. Know naturally what you're good at. What are your strengths? You could take a Myers-Briggs test, a Strength Finder test. There's so many things you can take out there. Enneagram. Just learn about you. Learn who you are, because those tests, I mean, they're a great fit. They may not be perfect, but they're a good fit to kind of help you see how your mind works, how you receive information, how you deal with situations, why you like to be around people or not to be around people, why people energize you or why they take away your energy. Just knowing some things about you, and then focus on things you like. What am I good at? What do I like? You may start to see some of those circles intersect. You may start to see some of those things. Well, I like running, and I'm also good at running. Ah, okay, very well. Well, let's maybe look into that. I'm good at problem solving, and I actually like problem solving. I love doing puzzles. I love creating codes. I'm good at math. Maybe there's a science, technology, education, engineering and math type thing. Maybe there's a STEM or a STEAM type career you want to focus on. But learn that. I like dealing with people. And maybe you become somebody that interacts with humans all day. Or you realize, I don't want to deal with people. I just want to deal with processes. Then you do something that is process driven and process heavy. But you ask yourself a lot of questions. What do you like? What do you not like? What are you good at? What are you not good at? When I do this thing, I feel very enlightened, very light, very excited, very encouraged. Or I do this thing and I feel very heavy, withdrawn, energy drained, and learn the difference and kind of learn what you like and what you don't like. And sometimes people say, I don't know what I like. And I say, you know what, that's fine. Don't start there then. Start with, what do you not like? Well, I don't like this. Well, there we go. Well, we know we don't like that. And I tell them, once you find out what you don't like, easy step is to look at the opposite of that. Sometimes those could be the things that you like. Not always, but it's just an easy step. We're just trying to prompt your mind to think. Because a lot of times we think, we don't think. And I used to prove, I try to prove it to people, and they're like, oh yeah, you're right. We don't think, I just do. Because we're creatures of habit. So after a while, you think in the beginning, and after a while, you do things mechanically. You do them rote. You do them because you've done them 1,000 times. That's not true. Okay, get in your car. Proof is right there. And think about the day when you went for your driving test, how you had 2 hands on the wheels, no music. You looked in every mirror. You're checking your speedometer. You're adjusting. You're doing these micro adjustments to keep the car straight and make sure you don't go over like 30 miles per hour because the speed limit's 30. And your heart rate's pounding and your eyes are wide open. You blinked 1 time in 2 minutes because you don't want to miss anything. And then now you're eating, you're putting your makeup on, you listen to music, you're talking to someone, you're doing like 15 different things, and you're driving, and you don't even know how you got where you were going. You just got there because you're not thinking anymore. It's kind of done on a different level. So
goes on autopilot.
Get into the habit of thinking and really thinking about how you feel in certain spaces when you do certain things and what do you like, and then find a way to monetize it. But I like sports. I don't know how to monetize it. Okay, that's great. Being liking sports doesn't mean you have to be an athlete. Sport industry is an industry. So you can do a myriad of things in the sports industry. I mean, think about it. You could be in ticket sales. You could be in an office. You could be an agent. You could be a sports writer. You could be a trainer. You could be a coach. You could be so many different things that aren't necessarily the sport itself where you're in that sports arena. So you got to open up your aperture and just kind of see and think outside the box. How can I do this thing that I love, yet find a way to put food on my table? Because there is an intersection of those things. There definitely is an intersection of those things. And I'll tell you one thing that I tell my kids. I'll tell them, there's a person that makes wire hangers that's probably a millionaire. There's a person that makes toothpicks that's probably a millionaire.
So true.
There's a person that makes zippers that's probably a millionaire. And they're looking at me like, wait, what? Because they're looking at their clothes like, the zipper? How many things have zippers? Or how many toothpicks are there? How many trees have to come down? What is that industry? I don't know, but I'm sure that whoever's making those things is probably extremely wealthy. And they're global. So just change their perspective a little bit, that you don't have to do the conventional things to live. Do what works for you. That's how we all live. We're not robots. We don't have to do the same thing.
I was just having that conversation with my wife the other day. I was like, because there was a video we saw on Instagram, and the guy who pulls up to expensive cars and asks them what they do. Like, and then there was this guy who said, you ever used a credit card to pay for your medical bills or pay at the hospital? He's like, yeah, I invented and patented the system that does that. So your payment process, that's what I did. And they just drove off. And people was like, oh my gosh, he invented and patented the way we process credit. How do you he came up with the process.
And think about it. Every transaction, he's getting a residual. Every swipe, every click of a keyboard, every time somebody punches in your numbers, every time you wave your wand in front of the payment machine, he's getting paid at some point in that process. How's that? How's that for a guy who probably got teased in high school? Or some teacher was like, you'll never amount to anything. He's like, okay. It's awesome.
I was one of those kids, and I love it now. So here's for me to give kudos back and give flowers back, because everything he said was liquid gold. In my process, in my journey to, when I transitioned from my old career to my current, I remember going through that whole process. I was like, all right, I'm not going back to this. I'm not doing this anymore. the next job I take is going to be something that I enjoy doing, that allows me to use the strengths and the things that I'm good at. And I remember I did all those things. I did the Enneagram. I did the Myers-Briggs. I did the DISC assessments. And then I did this thing where I had the list of things I didn't want to do, and then I started listening to things I would love to do, and I started looking at those career pathways based on what was best for my Myers-Briggs and DISC. I was like, all right, we'll start matching it up. I think I even found a book to this day somewhere around here where it lists all these careers, and I look at the task of what they did, and then I was like, no. And then for a while, I got stuck on the money piece because I was like, oh, I would love this career, but man, that's very much money. And then so I ended up going that career route anyways. And then I made more money than I ever could imagine making. And so that's why I tell students and people that I talk to now when I do my speeches, I was like, do what you love what you do. Don't chase the money, let the money chase you. And what I mean by that is when you start to focus on your super talent, the things that you're gifted at, people start to pay you, what you're worth, and sometimes even more than that, right? Because they need to have that thing that they can only get from you, and so you just leveled up your value because they can't get it anywhere else, so they have to pay.
You are the source.
Yeah, you are the source, right?
That right there. That comes with work. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Why is it every time you talk, I get so amped up? I get so excited. Like, I should be doing this standing up because I always want to shadow box right now. I mean, I'm just so into what you're saying because what you're saying is like, yes, that right there,
So tell me, like, because I'm assuming that you went through that same transition. What was the steps that you took to, start the transition from your military career to your current career? Because I feel like there's a lot of military people that get stuck in this like life after the military. They don't know what to do. They don't know what their superpowers are. And you were able to do it. So what was that? Why? Explain why is that it's stuck in. Tell me your process to how you got from A to B.
It was a bumpy road, let's say that. So like I said, I was an IT guy, so guaranteed money. I could do anything, and you're gonna make bank no matter where you go because of the skill set I had. I realized when I was retiring that I said I don't want to do that. I was at the point where I was almost sick of being out there, and I wanted to be quiet again and just kind of be what I called an everyday regular person. That's what I wanted to be. I didn't want to be anyone that people knew. I didn't want to have my face on anyone's board, or when you walk into an office, you see my face. I didn't want that. I wanted to be a regular guy. So I said, how can I be a regular guy? I'm going to become a life insurance agent. So I worked for New York Life and learned all about life insurance because I realized military people need it. And I realized the value of it because I had seen people perish without it. So I was like, this is how I'm going to help. This is how I'm going to help lives. And I'm going to do something that I'm passionate about. And it's a regular, quote unquote, regular job. We meet with regular people. So I just wanted to be anonymous. Yeah, about that. So I moved, I retired in Tampa, Florida, moved to Orlando, Florida, and decided I'm going to sell life insurance. I networked with so many people, met so many people that, you know what? There was none of that. I'm going to be anonymous. You know everybody because you're meeting everybody. Life insurance is for people, and I met people. So I became one of those people that knew everybody. Fell in love, moved to another state, and had to sell my book of business. But before I did that, my sister got ill in England. So I was like, I'm going back to England to take care of my sister. I'm retired. I can do it. I'm going to go. I'm not coming back until she gets better. She didn't get better. And it rocked my world. And here's a guy who's seen death multiple times, quite a bit occupationally, I guess. Wasn't ready for it. I thought I was prepared for it. I mean, I've seen death. I've seen what happens when it comes to decedent affairs and trying to take care of the families and doing all those things. And it hit so hard. And to me, it was a trifecta of pain. I was going through a divorce at the end of my career. That was devastating. I'm losing my family. I'm losing my family identity as far as I'm concerned. Whether I wanted it or not, whether I was glad for it or not, it's still a loss. I'm losing my identity as a Marine, as a warrior, as a warfighter, as a military professional, as one of those things. I'm losing that too because I'm retiring. I'm no longer going to be that. I'm a civilian. I'm a regular dude. And so I'm losing that identity. Voluntary again, but still losing that identity. So I've lost two different things now. I've lost my career, if that makes any sense, which is a huge source of my identity. I've lost my family, the way I see it, as it stood. I've lost those 2 things, and now I've lost my sister. I think I could handle any one of those 3 things. 2 of them would have been rough, but all 3 of those things cut me to the core, hit me to my knees. I was done. I was emotionally, physically, spiritually spent. Done. I just felt like I was a shell of a human being. And in that, when I came back from England after my sister passed and we took care of some stuff, I felt like I failed my sister. I felt so bad. If I had got there earlier, I could have saved her. If I had done this earlier, just everything, because I put that weight totally on me in a most irrational way. And then you start to realize there are people suffering just like I am. So I discovered an organization, got certified to be a coach and a speaker, because I wanted to help people who were going through hurt like I was going through. And for years, because of the guilt, shame, hurt, pain associated with my traumas, I stayed on the sidelines and wouldn't do the work, wouldn't deal with the people that I wanted to deal with. The reason I started, I avoided those people on purpose, because dealing with those people meant I had to deal with my own demons in a way that was just too raw. It was too soon. It was hard. So I would deal with other folks, business leaders and stuff like that, which was, to me, safer. Still helping, just not helping the people that caused me to get into the work in the first place. And recently, my co-host, Michelle Wickman, love you dearly, of Wickman Wellness. She's a life coach. She's a phenomenal woman. We talk and we do a lot of this work personally, and we also do the podcast.
Yeah.
And she asked me a question, and I realized that I need to head on, dive into my traumas, my stuff, because I had a way of just avoiding it. I would just skirt it. I just always curve around it. And she had me hit it head on. And I realized, okay, my podcast has to focus on the people that are suffering in silence like me. People who have achieved a certain level in life, so therefore they think that they have no one they can talk to, that they shouldn't be feeling these things at this level in their careers, in their personal lives, and their professional lives. And I realized from the podcast, there are many people in that space and they suffer in silence. And I hope they listen and we give them some tools, because we may be the only people they're going to for help. They're not going to conventional sources for help. They're not telling people they need help, because I can't. I'm the owner of this. I'm the whatever it is that I am, and whatever label it is, I'm that person that's achieved this level, and people look at me to be at this place that I'm supposed to have it together. But I'm going through a divorce and it's ruined me. I'm going through health challenges and it's really messed up my confidence. I just lost my child. I'm lost right now. I had a financial downturn and I've lost my confidence, and I'm afraid of doing it again. I'm afraid of doing this business the way I've been doing this business. Whatever it is, something has happened, and I call them significant negative events that have really thrown them off of their path to success. How do we not only get you back on that path, but get you to soar even higher than you projected in the first place? And there are things we can do to get you back on track. I know this because I've done it. And I'll tell you, one thing I always say, it's a journey, not a destination. It's not do these things and you'll be here. No, that's that gimmicky stuff. I'm not about the gimmicks. I'm about people's real lives. And to me, it's very serious. Dealing with people's lives is a serious thing. And I'll tell you, to me, it's scary, because in my mind, I'm like, if I make a mistake, I could really throw somebody off for the rest of their lives. And so it's very sobering to me. And I care about the people that I work with. I care about the people that I know are listening to my podcast that I will never meet. I care about the people that hit us up and give us comments. And you're like, how would I ever meet this person in real life? How would our lives ever intersect if it wasn't for this podcast? Or maybe they've seen something, or I've said something and they've heard it and it's changed their lives. So that's very sobering to me. But I need to give back in that way, because when you're suffering, a lot of times you think you're the only one. But I like to bring people on my podcast that are like, no, I suffered too, but look at me now. And I'm still going through it, but I'm working through it, because it's a journey. And I want people to know that hero story. You can be the author of your own hero story. And yes, I'm sorry that you went through something, but now what? Now what? Let's work on the now what. Let's change your narrative so that at the end of the story, it ends with you win, the end. Happily ever after, you win. Let's work on that. So that's what I do now. And that's my life's purpose. That's why I was put here.
There, and I think, I share in some of that life's purpose with you. We just do it in our own different ways. I often tell people, when you're going through something, make sure that you're going through it. And what I mean by that is you're not staying stuck in it, because sometimes we stay stuck in it and we're not going through it. And
I know stuck.
Sometimes in my sometimes I look back at the things that I've gone through, and there was periods where I was stuck in it and it took me some time to get through it. But often the solution was in the problem, and sometimes you know, by avoiding it or running away from it, you don't get to the solution. So I say, don't run from the pain, run towards it. And sometimes you'll find something in there that's going to be a gift that's going to help you to move forward, and then give yourself some grace when you're going through it, so that you can have the grace to heal, to grow, and to move forward or fall forward. Even if you're falling, fall forward. Don't fall back or fall forward.
Yes.
Wow. Because there is something in all that pain. There's something, and you just have to find it.
Yes.
So I appreciate the work.
Audible gold. That was audible gold again. But you're right. You have to work through these things. And I think we get stuck. I used to do hurdles. So I like using the analogy of hurdles. Sometimes you see a hurdle and people stop. Mm-hmm. They just stop running, like there's a hurdle there. Negotiate it, navigate it, go through it, learn how to navigate that hurdle. And then what's the great things that happen? Once you do it once, you're like, oh, I can do that. Oh, I can do it again. Wait, I'm good at this. And then all of a sudden you just knocking them out. And it becomes a habit of learning how to go through hard things. And you realize you're not the only one. People go through stuff. And I don't measure people's trauma. Oh, you got hit by a car, you had a disease, you got a divorce. I don't measure what you went through, because I realize it doesn't matter what you went through. It's how it affects you and how it derails your life and how it throws you off course and changes just the very fabric of your life. That's what matters. And that can be anything. And how one trauma affects you may affect me totally different.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So we all have our different experiences, unique experiences that shape the way that we, I guess, engage or receive information or intake everything that's happened to us. So each person, get something different from that situation. I got to ask you this question, because I know
17 and a half.
Such a rich life that you've lived.
Oh, wasn't the answer? Oh, that's my universal answer for everything.
That wasn't the answer. What do you feel is one good lesson life has taught you?
Whoo, just one? It's been like I feel like it's been a master. I think it's a graduate level course. I would tell you this.
I don't think we won't have time for the whole master class, but if you want to do 2 or 3, that's fine. But like at least one.
I think it's invest in yourself, believe in yourself, bet on you is one thing, and with that's part of it. But there's subsets to that. That is, take your shot. Swing that bat. Do the ask. If you want something, you've got to ask for it. You've got to ask someone to help you. You've got to ask someone to support you. Ask for the job if that's what you want. Ask to work with somebody. Because if you don't put it out there, you're a secret agent and nobody knows. Nobody can help you. And sometimes people want to help you. Some people see your passion and like, I need that. I want to groom that person so they can take over my business when I get older. Whatever. You never know what the opportunity is if you don't ask. So you got to be brave enough to put yourself out there. And don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of failure. Failure is only failure if you stay there and quit. Getting stuck is okay. You got to get unstuck. You got to keep going and fail fast and fail often. And I will tell you, funny thing, school has a way of teaching you not to fail. Failing is bad. Failing is how you learn. Now my kids are like, yeah, Dad, you tell us all the time. But how did you learn to walk? Did you read a book, check out a PowerPoint presentation? Did you do the lecture? How did you do it? Did you get the at-home course, the study course? How did you do it? Online? No. You actually got up, left foot fell. Right foot fell. Left foot, right foot wobbled and fell. Left foot slower, right foot slower, balance a little bit. Okay, I'm waddling, I fell. All right, let me work on it. So you've learned by failing. And then you realize, well, that didn't work, but this did. Well, that didn't work either, but this did, and this did. Well, now all of a sudden, from those failures, if you use them as lesson and learning points, you then become experts at that thing. And then you find yourself running and jumping and flipping and doing all other kinds of things because you've graduated to the next level. So failure can be a point of, it can be a terminal point where you stop doing what you're doing, or a point for you to learn. So with every mistake, there's a lesson. And the issue is, if you don't learn the lesson, there's a redo. You'll be taking that test again. Life will make you take that test again. So learn as much as you can so you can move on to the next challenge. And then as you look back on your journey, you'll realize how much experience you have had from those failures, and then how much wisdom you have gained from learning how to navigate and recover from said failures. And I use failures, I almost want to say air quotes, because are they failures or are they lesson points? Are they learning points? Are they points to grow, opportunities to get better? It's all about how you look at them. And I don't think failure is fatal at all. But I do think there's an art in knowing how to recover. And that can be hard because society doesn't like you to fail. Even though that's the best way, and that is the way we learn, they don't like that. And also, in that as well, those two things are encompassed by the one thing: be comfortable being uncomfortable. There is no growth in the comfort zone, none whatsoever. Get out of your box. Your box is nice and cozy, but it's meant for you to kind of rest and stay stagnant. Get out of that box and move on and find those opportunities. Be brave. Be brave. You never know. You could be one question, one action away from your breakthrough. But if you never take it, well, you never take it. So I know that was more than one, but to me, those are all, it's a family.
Like, no, all of it was liquid gold. This is the liquid gold episode. I'm gonna call it liquid gold.
Wow.
I know somebody's gonna get this episode and they're gonna be inspired by everything you're saying. What would be some advice you would give for somebody who's currently going through it, or who's went through it already, and they've like, I've thought about doing some public speaking or doing some coaching or doing something, building something, podcast or something to help people, who's gone through something like me. What's some advice you would give to somebody like that who wants to start something similar to what you started, or just a piece of it? Like, what advice would you give them to get started and get going? Or what steps should they take?
Whenever your inner critic, whenever that part of you that judges everything you do, that negative aspect of you that has your ear and has your influence over you, tells you can't do something, think about this. Here's the combat to that. You have a message that your life has kind of crafted for you. Only you have that message. Your audience, your tribe, your followers, your people need to hear your message cooked your way. And your tribe is your tribe. And they are waiting for you to deliver that message. There are people right now who need you, who aren't going to resonate with me or Terrell. They need you. And when you think about it like that, then you change the narrative in your head. It is your moral obligation to make sure you are serving your community, the people that you were destined to help. They're out there. Find them. You find them by talking. Yeah. And if you can imagine, if back in the day when people were talking to town square, they were talking to town square, and people would walk by like, guy's crazy, keep walking. But if you resonated with what that person was saying, you would stop and listen and cheer and support. And next thing you know, there's a crowd. That's how that works. And then all of a sudden, the people that walked away are like, wait, what is that person saying? Let me go back now and listen again. Oh, okay. So you attract your crowd by attracting your crowd. You attract that crowd by saying your message, getting out there and saying your message. It's not going to be perfect. That's okay. And if you don't believe me, when you look at all of your YouTube videos or whoever you look at, scroll down to the very first two or three, in fact, the first 10, 20, and look at how rough they are, how poorly they're produced, how the people look, how the sound is bad. And you're like, that's where they started. Look at them now. We always look at the end ones where they've got the lights and the video and the music and the animation. Like, this is great. Go to the beginning, because that's not where they started. And then that's how you enjoy the growth. Right. But I guarantee you, they were still helping people in those initial stages. You got to start.
Right.
Got to start.
That's it. That's so true. So, I think since COVID, at least my personal opinion is that, there's more people stepping into the space, thinking about self-care, being more conscious, and for lack of better terms, being more woke. What would you say, when you look at you being in this industry and just seeing like how the pandemic has slowed us down and people being more mindful in certain aspects of their life, what do you think the future has in store for your industry?
Oh, this industry is massive. It's huge. And all coaches aren't created equal. All people that call themselves coaches aren't coaches. Many people that call themselves coaches are mentors. There's a lot in there. There's a lot to pass out. But the person that you need is out there, regardless of the title. If somebody's giving you the help that you need and you're receiving the growth that you desire, that's the tribe for you. That's the right person. If somebody is not a fit, it is quite all right to walk on, because you can do so much damage by being with the wrong person if they don't align with you. Now, alignment is not the same as challenge. So if Terrell and I are talking and he tells me some things that are making to me that are tight but right, and it's making me uncomfortable and it's making me sweat and it's making me upset because it's triggering me, but he's calling out some stuff that I need to fix, that's different than somebody diminishing your fire and somebody diminishing you and just making you feel heavy and feeling obligated and feeling totally like you're just, you have to be with this person because they're what you need. That's different. If someone's not aligned with you, that's totally different than being challenged by somebody. So just because, let's say Terrell and I work together, just because some days are rough and I had a bad day because I'm like, man, that was rough. He really made me go there. I had to really answer some really tough questions about myself. That's not the same as, man, he made me feel really little and I'm just losing confidence. In fact, I need him not to grow, but I just need him so I can get through my day. That's a little different. So really know what you're getting out of it, because sometimes not every coach is for you. And that's not a bad thing. That's not even saying anything about the coach. Know who's for you. I go to mental health professionals, and believe me, if we don't resonate, we don't talk. So you come back next week? No. No. We didn't connect. I don't trust you. You weren't really listening to me. The stuff you were saying was a little ridiculous. It was a little sketchy. And I didn't feel that you cared. Because I said one thing that was major to me and you just dismissed it. I'm out of here. And maybe sometimes I'll tell people that, so give them a chance. But if I realize that we're not for each other, I move on quickly. And when I find the person that is right, I'm like, let's get in there. Yeah. It's me.
I love it. So we could probably go on forever, but I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, all right, we could probably turn this into a 2-hour episode, but I'm not, for the sake of the listeners. And I like to keep it like a drive time. So let's end it off like this.
Yes.
You know, what projects are you currently working on and where can people find you?
So I'm doing this thing called a First Time Story Slam in San Diego. And what that is first time stories are a way to share and to get to know people. We actually know people through our stories. That's how we sell things. That's how we get people to like us. That's how we get to like people. When you like someone that you're attracted to, you tell them stories about yourself and hopefully they like those stories. It's how we get to know people on a deeper level. But beyond that, it's how we get to see that we are very similar and how people's lives can come together. So we did one this month and the theme was food firsts. First time you had food poisoning, the first time you ate this food or that food, the first time you ate in America, whatever it was, the stories were amazing. You know, how somebody learned how to cook and then how they started a restaurant. And just different stories about their first time experiencing something. So next month, it will be about sports. But every month, it's going to be about a different theme, but it's going to be a first time experience. Because focusing on first times and doing first time things actually creates new neural pathways, which can keep you mentally viable. So there's science behind why it's good to do it, but also just sharing those things. You start to realize you have commonalities. People start to realize, wow, you did that. I haven't done that. I need to learn more about that. So it's a different level of intimacy. And in those slams, people get to meet each other that would probably never meet each other anywhere else. And then by the end of those slams, because you've heard their stories, you actually like, I like that person. You know, let's take that. What's your social media? Let's connect. And now people leave there with more friends or connections or alignments than they had when they went in. That's beautiful to me. I'm still coaching. I'm always going to coach. And the Winning Inside podcast is what I do. Winning Inside with Michelle, with Cheddy and Michelle. That is on every platform that you listen to podcasts. You'll probably find it from Amazon, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher. It's out there. So if you want to listen to them, by all means, Winning Inside.
So Winning Inside. Make sure y'all check out that podcast for more liquid gold. That's a new coin that we're going to phrase. Cheddy, my man, it's been a pleasure. I'm so excited for this episode to drop and for the people to get all these gems that you dropped upon us. Now that you told me about this little meetup, I might have to. You might have to send me a flyer, see if I could get my first time experience with the group.
I would love for you to come. It's just fun. It's just, I'm all about good vibes. I love being around good people, and the energy is phenomenal. It really is. So game on. Let's do it.
Likewise, sir.
And
any last words of wisdom or gems you want to leave the people with as they leave this podcast into their day?
Yes, I would. Before you leave the house today, look in the mirror and tell yourself, you know what? You are absolutely amazing. Say that to yourself and believe it. There's enough negativity around you to tell you the other things. Tell yourself that. Bet on yourself. Put some money on you. That's what I would tell you today. Stay amazing because you are amazing. And if you don't know that you're amazing, figure it out and go find out what makes you so amazing, because you are. The end.
If that's not a way to win inside, I don't know what is, ladies and gentlemen. So go tell yourself today. Cheddy, thank you again. Appreciate you. And don't worry if all of you did not get to write some of that information down or don't have the exact podcast title. I'm going to put everything in the show notes for you as usual so that you can check out Winning Inside, and then anything that Cheddy gets me. I might have to talk to Cheddy too, see if we get a master class going. I don't know. We're going to work something out. We'll figure something out on our end.
Oh, yes.
We'll figure
Absolutely.
out a different way for our podcast to work with him on something in the future. Absolutely.
I'm in.
All right, totally, ladies and gentlemen, have a good one.
You as well. Take care.